The trade war between the United States and China has been a hot topic for years. At the heart of the matter are tariffs, taxes on imported goods, that the United States has imposed on Chinese-made machinery. American manufacturers, who rely heavily on Chinese-made machinery for its affordability and availability, are now facing a difficult choice. In this video, we'll delve into the impact of tariffs on Chinese machinery, exploring how they are impacting American manufacturers and the broader United States economy. The tariffs imposed on Chinese machinery have sent shockwaves through the United States manufacturing sector. These tariffs, which can reach as high as 25%, have significantly increased the cost of essential equipment, from basic tools to sophisticated robotics. Many businesses, particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, are struggling to absorb these increased costs. From automotive manufacturing to electronics production, businesses are grappling with the consequences of these trade policies. To understand the tariffs on Chinese machinery, we need to look at the broader context of United States-China relations. The trade war didn't erupt overnight. It's the culmination of years of simmering tensions over trade imbalances, intellectual property rights, and China's growing economic might. Proponents of tariffs on Chinese machinery argue that they are essential for safeguarding American jobs and industries. They contend that China's unfair trade practices, such as government subsidies and currency manipulation, have given Chinese manufacturers an artificial advantage in the global market. China, unsurprisingly, hasn't taken the tariffs lying down. In retaliation, China imposed its own tariffs on a range of U.S. goods, including agricultural products, automobiles, and chemicals. The trade war has also had a negative impact on consumer confidence, as businesses have passed on some of the increased costs to consumers in the form of higher prices. This, in turn, has dampened consumer spending, further slowing economic growth. The tariffs on Chinese machinery have sent shockwaves through the U.S. manufacturing sector, with the most immediate and palpable impact being the sharp rise in the cost of essential equipment. From basic tools and components to sophisticated robotics and automated assembly lines, the price tags on machinery imported from China have skyrocketed, leaving American manufacturers grappling with shrinking margins and tough choices. Data from industry groups and economic research firms paint a stark picture of the escalating costs. According to the Peterson Institute for International Economics, the tariffs on Chinese machinery have increased the costs of these goods for American businesses by an average of 20%. While the tariffs on Chinese machinery impact all American manufacturers that rely on imported equipment, small and medium-sized enterprises, or SMEs, have been disproportionately affected. SMEs, often operating with tighter margins and fewer resources than their larger counterparts, have found it particularly challenging to absorb the increased costs associated with the tariffs. A survey conducted by the National Association of Manufacturers found that nearly 70% of small manufacturing businesses have experienced increased materials costs due to the tariffs, and more than half have reported lower profit margins. The survey also revealed that many SMEs have been forced to delay or cancel planned investments, such as hiring new employees or expanding their operations, due to the financial strain imposed by the tariffs. The tariffs, by placing undue financial pressure on these businesses, threaten to stifle innovation, limit economic growth, and undermine the competitiveness of the U.S. manufacturing sector as a whole. The impact of tariffs on Chinese machinery extends far beyond the factory floor, creating a ripple effect that is felt throughout the United States economy and by consumers in their everyday lives. As manufacturers grapple with increased costs, they are forced to make difficult decisions that ultimately affect the prices consumers pay for a wide range of goods and services. From automobiles and appliances to electronics and clothing, the tariffs have contributed to price increases across a wide range of consumer products. The steel industry stands as a stark example of how tariffs on Chinese machinery are reverberating through specific sectors of the United States economy. American steel producers, once struggling to compete with cheaper imports from China, saw a glimmer of hope with the implementation of tariffs. However, the tariffs have created a new set of challenges, particularly for those industries that rely heavily on steel as a raw material. With tariffs driving up the cost of steel, construction projects across the country are facing budget overruns and delays. The agricultural sector, a cornerstone of the United States economy and a way of life for generations of Americans, is also feeling the pinch of tariffs on Chinese machinery. American farmers, known for their efficiency and productivity, rely heavily on machinery to plant, cultivate, harvest, and process their crops. The tariffs have significantly increased the cost of this equipment, placing a heavy burden on American farmers already facing challenges from fluctuating commodity prices, unpredictable weather patterns, and rising input costs. According to the American Farm Bureau Federation, farm debt has reached record levels, and the tariffs on Chinese machinery are exacerbating the financial strain on farmers across the country. The tariffs on Chinese machinery have not spared the U.S. tech sector, an industry known for its rapid innovation and global competitiveness. While the tech sector is often associated with software and digital services, it also relies heavily on sophisticated hardware, including semiconductors, networking equipment, and data storage devices. The Semiconductor Industry Association, which represents leading U.S. chipmakers, has warned that the tariffs are harming American competitiveness in this crucial sector. The tariffs have increased the cost of manufacturing these essential components, potentially slowing down innovation and making American tech products less competitive in the global marketplace. The tariffs on Chinese machinery are part of a larger debate about trade deficits and global interdependence. A trade deficit occurs when a country imports more than it exports. The U.S. has had a persistent trade deficit with China for decades, often cited as evidence of unfair trade practices and a drain on the American economy.
However, trade deficits are more nuanced than they appear. They can reflect strong consumer demand and access to diverse goods. Focusing solely on bilateral trade deficits overlooks global interconnectedness.
The U.S. benefits from a complex web of trade relationships worldwide. Narrowly reducing the trade deficit with one country can have unintended global consequences. Tariffs on Chinese machinery can disrupt supply chains and increase costs. They can also damage relationships with other trading partners.
A sustainable solution requires acknowledging global trade complexity and maintaining strong relationships.
While the tariffs on Chinese machinery were enacted with the goal of protecting American jobs and industries, their long-term impact on the U.S. economy remains uncertain and subject to debate. Some economists argue that the tariffs, by increasing costs for businesses and consumers, could ultimately stifle economic growth and lead to job losses in sectors that rely on imported goods.
Moreover, the tariffs have the potential to accelerate the trend of automation in manufacturing. As the cost of labor in China rises, partly due to the tariffs, American companies may be further incentivized to invest in automation technologies that reduce their reliance on human labor. While automation can lead to increased productivity and efficiency in the long run, it can also result in job displacement in the short term, particularly for workers in manufacturing and other sectors where tasks can be automated.
Furthermore, the tariffs have prompted China to seek out alternative trading partners, potentially weakening the United States' economic and geopolitical influence in the long run. China has been actively strengthening trade ties with other countries, particularly in Asia and Europe, reducing its reliance on the U.S. market.
This shift in global trade patterns could have significant implications for the United States, potentially leading to reduced exports, lost market share for American companies, and a diminished role in shaping global trade rules.
Paying the price for protectionism. While the tariffs on Chinese machinery are often framed in terms of their impact on businesses and the broader economy, it's important to remember that consumers ultimately bear a significant portion of the cost. The tariffs have contributed to higher prices for a wide range of consumer goods, from electronics and appliances to automobiles and clothing.
As manufacturers face increased costs for imported components and materials, they are often forced to pass on at least some of those costs to consumers in the form of higher prices. This is particularly true for goods that are heavily reliant on imported components, such as smartphones, computers, and other electronics.
A study by the Peterson Institute for International Economics estimated that the tariffs on Chinese goods, including machinery, cost the average American household an additional $500 per year in the form of higher prices.
While the tariffs are intended to protect American jobs and industries, they have also resulted in reduced consumer purchasing power. As prices for essential goods and services rise, consumers have less disposable income available to spend on other goods and services, potentially slowing economic growth.
The tariffs on Chinese machinery, while presented as a way to protect American interests, have placed a significant financial burden on American consumers, who are ultimately paying the price for protectionism.
The tariffs on Chinese machinery aimed at protecting American jobs have ignited a trade war with far-reaching consequences. Increased costs for imported equipment have impacted businesses of all sizes, from small manufacturers to large corporations. The agricultural sector is feeling the squeeze, with farmers facing difficult choices to remain competitive. Consumers are also affected, as tariffs have led to higher prices for a wide range of goods. The trade war has injected uncertainty into the global economy, hindering investment and innovation. While intended to reduce the trade deficit with China, the tariffs' effectiveness remains debated. What is clear is that the tariffs have come at a cost, borne by American businesses, workers, and consumers. The trade war with China is unfolding against a backdrop of shifting geopolitical alliances and a global economy in flux. The rise of protectionist sentiment in many parts of the world, coupled with the rapid pace of technological change, is creating a complex and uncertain landscape for businesses and policymakers alike. As the US and China continue to navigate their trade relationship, it remains to be seen whether the tariffs will achieve their intended goals or whether they will ultimately prove to be more costly than beneficial. Finding a path forward will require careful consideration of the potential consequences of different policy choices, as well as a willingness to engage in dialogue and cooperation with both allies and competitors. One thing is certain: the outcome of the trade war will have significant implications, not only for the US and China, but for the global economy as a whole. It is essential for policymakers to consider the long-term consequences of their actions and to prioritize policies that promote sustainable economic growth, job creation, and a level playing field for American businesses and workers. The issue of tariffs and trade policy is not merely an abstract economic debate. It has real-world consequences for the lives of Americans every day. From the prices we pay for goods and services to the availability of jobs in our communities, the decisions made in Washington, D.C. and in Beijing have a direct impact on our lives. That's why it's more important than ever to stay informed about these issues, to understand the different perspectives and arguments, and to make your voice heard. Contact your elected officials, engage in thoughtful discussions with your friends and family, and stay informed about developments in the trade war and their potential impact. Remember, the future of the American economy is not predetermined. It is shaped by the choices we make today. By staying engaged and informed, we can help to ensure that those choices reflect our values and our vision for a prosperous and equitable future. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next video. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates.